Hello everyone, it's Tracy from the Wildlife Garden here. Just doing a catch up. It's been a while. I've been suffering with shingles and it's taken a lot longer than I ever anticipated to get better, but I'm on the mend now. So it's a lovely sunny day after the dull spring, early spring we had. And so I'd like to do a little catch up of what's in the garden. Insects are beginning to appear, which is wonderful to see. Not as many as they usually would be in June, but at least the garden has the sound of buzzing once more. So we'll have a little journey up the garden. First of all, we've got the Japanese anemone, as always, by my old fireplace here. They don't flower for another few weeks. They're just producing flowers, but it's about 4 weeks before they'll pop out. It's just a midge-modge of pots really down here. I've planted things and things have self-seeded into the brick path. The things over on this side, on the right, are all self-seeded. We've got fleabane, Mexican fleabane plant, that little daisy. And behind it the tall yellow plant. Someone suggested what it could be, because I'm still not sure, dead sure, but having searched my my wildlife flower books, I'm going with hawkweed. So I'm not sure, but it's of the dandelion family, but it's hawkweed, I think. That was a bee buzzing over. I hope you heard it.
Filming.
Sorry about that little interruption. So I've put together a little basket here. This is just lobelia in here. Bees do like lobelia and I like lobelia, so I've used some hessian and made a little wall basket there. My granddaughter planted 4 nasturtiums seeds and 2 have come up and germinated and seem to be doing okay. That'll be pretty for her. The main plant on this wall that I planted is the honeysuckle, and it's just starting to flower. I'm sure I'm going into the sun, so I'm not sure. But it has got quite a few buds on it. I do find I get a little caterpillar on this, and sometimes the buds drop off, but it seems to be doing okay at the moment. And that'll smell beautiful soon. Then behind it, we've got the very tall Verbena borealis. The buds are so tiny at first, but they will grow and expand. Those lovely little purple flower heads. And behind it, I'm not sure what this plant is. I'm not sure if it's a knapweed. I hope it's knapweed. It's very big and very soft leaves. They're lovely. Oh, and look, some of that dreaded frothing stuff that the Daily Mirror says we mustn't touch. It's so dangerous. It's just so much nonsense in the papers. It's just a little insect that farts bubbles basically, and it's harmless. It's always been here. This is that Sicilian lily of the allium family, and I have got a potted clematis there. I'm not sure how it'll do. I just didn't know where to put it, so I've just put it there for the time being. It may not be its permanent home. The lemon balm here has gone absolutely crazy. The size of the leaves, beautiful. It smells gorgeous. So mainly herb Robert, some Welsh poppies, wood avens, and then over on this side there's a lovely bee visiting the allium of the chive flower. That's a red-tailed bumblebee. They've only just emerged very late. Tall plant in the background. I think it has a tall white flower on it. I've forgotten the name off the top of my head, but it is lovely. Just forgotten the name, sorry. Again, over on the wall we've got some more allium planted and poached eggplant. This is like a herb Robert too, but it has a white flower instead of the pink, but it's gorgeous. It's so pretty, but I rarely see an insect on it, so I'm not sure it produces much in the way of nectar. Next to that is the cistus, or the rock rose, and beautiful flowers that just last a day, but it continually recycles itself, in the sense it's got lots and lots of buds. So these will all drop off at the end of the day, and then new ones will reopen tomorrow. Fascinating. There's a little bit of Johnson's blue in the background, geranium. Large fern, self-seeded. There's a shrub behind it that has pink flowers, but I'm not sure what pink flowers they are. Then we've got daisy, oxeye daisy, very tall oxeye daisy because of where it's planted in rich soil. Rhododendron, no, not rhododendron. I get those two mixed up. It's what are they called? Hydrangea. This one the bees do seem to like the flowers on. It has a flat head. And we've got our bay, more of that spittle on it. You see, bay tree. More ferns. These are all self-seeded. Buddleia self-seeded in there, and a clematis in the background. This is self-seeded in the path. This is mallow. Gosh, they get so big. Not really a suitable place for it, really. Johnson's blue, all at the back here. On the floor I've got a dish of rehydrated mealworms the sparrows are enjoying, and some are eating them and some are flying off with them for the chicks. Another cistus. Then over on this side we've got the lovely tree of the oh gosh, I've got a fly in my eye. Sorry. And we've got the lovely elder buckthorn. I'm not as lucky as Joel. I haven't got caterpillars in mine. Mine was very late coming out. It must be colder here. But the bees are enjoying the little tiny flowers on it. A strantia in a pot down here. This is a new plant that I brought and I didn't know where to put it, so I put it in a pot for the time being, but it's beginning to flower, the lovely pink flower down there. And then I've got my lovely hostas, which do quite well because they're all in pots on gravel. I don't get really a lot of slug damage on it this time of year. I can find it a bit later, but as you can see there's only a tiny bit of damage. My heucheras in the pot are loving it in the back here. The bees were on this yesterday, flowering lovely, and I think it matches the lovely acer tree perfectly here. Two colours matching together. Lovely mint moth down here. The mint moth flittering about. Last year I only had about 2 of those in the garden, but I've seen plenty of them this year. In here, this is my little crop. We've got carrots, my first sown of carrots. Growing these mainly for my granddaughter to pick. Peas, lovely pea plant with its first flower. Tomato. That's a standard like tomato, and then 2 cherry tomatoes. These in the back are meant to be little white snow, I think they're called snowball turnip, but seem to be producing a lot of leaf and no turnip. And then my second sown of carrots at the bottom. Turn around and go up the garden. Sorry, sparrows. This pot needs a good watering. In this pot, you can see it's all wilted at the moment. It's an old butler sink, and if you can see, it's a very shallow one. It was in the garden when we arrived, so it didn't hold the water for very long. It's the lovely black-eyed Rebecca, but it needs watering. All along my garden I've got this kind of fern plant, like an asparagus almost. Don't know what it is. It spreads everywhere, but it's great cover. Because I have frogs, it's perfect for them. Lovely foxglove in the background. The strawberries are doing well. Although this year everything is getting green fly or black fly. First year I've suffered with that for a long time. Bit of bindweed going up the fence there, which I don't mind, and there's also an everlasting sweet pea. You can perhaps see it in the back there. And this is my other honeysuckle. This is my favourite one. It has a yellow flower and the perfume is just stunning. It's an enormous specimen. Been here a very long time, and it's almost ready to start bursting into flower. And it's lovely because sometimes if we're lucky we do get the hummingbird hawk moth visiting it. It's absolutely covered in flowers, never lets us down. You can see that little stick at the back. It's an old wooden line prop that supports it after it broke in one heavy snowy winter a good many years ago. Yeah, more wild strawberry there, again for my granddaughter to pick and nibble on as we come up the garden. I've got a new Acer there in a pot, sheltering there, it's doing really well. And because my buddleia's very old, full of old rot holes and everything now, and I'm never sure how often it's going to return after I cut it back, I've got a new little one. I took a cutting along the canal of this little oh gosh, I'm calling it a honeysuckle. It's not a honeysuckle. It's oh gosh, it's gone out my head. I'm losing it. Sorry. Okay, it's buddleia. Okay, yeah. So that's that very bright yellow, intense yellow buddleia flower. I'll perhaps be able to show it you later in the year as it opens up. So this one is also a yellow flower, but as I say, it's very old and gnarled now. I love it. I love the structure of it. It's just fabulous, but not sure how long it'll last, but there you go. Still shooting. And then next to that we have this fuchsia, which is like a standard. I've made it into a standard. It is bush fuchsia, but normally alive with bees. I can hear one or two bees buzzing on it, but normally it's just full of bees, but can't see any at the moment on it. That's how this summer seems to be going. The essential ivy, and there's a honeysuckle running through that as well. I had robins nesting in there a couple of years on the run. I chose another ivy this year. These are my seedlings. I've got cosmos. They're not doing brilliantly. They seem to be taking ages to grow. And my sweet peas just don't seem to be doing anything, but they're out. Again, a bit of sun. I've got a new plant here. This is salvia, just coming up. That was a cutting, a little plant I bought. Lobelia next to it, and these are the survivors of my. I'm not keen on them really because they're such a struggle to keep going. The slugs just love them, so for what they give, I'm not that bothered whether they survive or not. But those are the surviving ones. I can see there's a bit of slug damage on them today. And then a little fuchsia that broke off and I managed to root. It's a lovely fuchsia, little potted fuchsia there, and the bees do like it. More fern, self-seeded fern. And there is a geranium underneath the fern. It's a pink flowering one. This is self-seeded too. Very liked by the tiny little bees that I get in the garden, solitary bees, yellow-faced bees. Another clematis. On the shed we've got lobelia and poached eggplant again. I can see one bee on that fuchsia now. And a clematis that was flowering early in the year. I'm not sure of its name. Can't remember the name. Blue something I think, but I'm not dead sure. But these are my irises about to open. These are beautiful. They don't last long, irises, these ones, but they're stunning purple and yellow when they come out. Self-seeded honesty in the background. Enormous leaves on it. Another clematis just finishing. We've got, how red that is, gorgeous. This is that shiny geranium, classified as a weed. Got all the seeds ready to pop everywhere. But it's gorgeous, look at the colour in it. With a lovely foxglove in the pot with it. In the background, the tall plant is my blueberry. Probably should have cut it back. Here's the solitary bee, look, visiting the bee box. That's a mason bee, I think that was. Possibly a red mason bee or a blue mason bee. Right, we've got our lavender all bursting into bud. This is a very old lavender too. Quite woody at the bottom, but I do cut it. Sometimes I cut it back and sometimes I don't, because obviously the seed heads are important for birds, but yeah, sometimes I cut it back. On the other side we've got a vetch growing, that's self-seeded. I presume the birds brought that vetch in. It's finished flowering now. has a blue flower on it. Common vetch, I think. I've got this here is an ash tree, and our ash trees in the garden are dying, which is sad, but I do have to keep pulling these out. They seed everywhere. Now, my lilac tree, this is a lilac tree. It was covered in blossom earlier in the year. It smelled lovely, but it's old and it has sent up so many suckers this year. I'm not sure if it's a sign it's struggling. So the trouble is, if you cut suckers, it sort of encourages them even more. Heard pulling them is probably better, but what I've decided to do is just chop the top off and keep it as a hedge. So it won't flower, possibly it might, I don't know, but all I'm doing is nipping the tops off and it can stay as a little hedge, and it covers the ground, which is most important. In the background we've got some mumbretia and the seed heads of the Spanish bluebell. The tall plant is goldenrod, which is adored by the insects later in the year. It comes out in sort of end of July. Over onto the main border. Well, we'll finish by the rosemary, I think. Along here we've got this is a Russian sage, which I've cut back this year. I've never cut it back before, but I thought I'd try it this year, and it's bushed up lovely. I think it really needed it. I've got globe thistle coming up here. I'm not sure whether it's the right place for it because it gets quite big, but we'll see. And this geranium's just going over. I forget the name of this geranium. It's loved by the bees. My only nod to it is an open one, but I don't see bees going on it. It's got quite a hard centre. It's quite weird, but it's my only nod to David Austin. It was the cheapest David Austin rose at the garden centre, so look at the buds. Gorgeous. Lovely. That's a spirea, I think, in the background there. That shrub has a pink sort of bottle brush flower. That's loved by the tiny little solitary bees, yellow-faced bees. We've got a bellflower down here. I think there's 2 salvias next to it. And some poached egg and 1 cosmos that I did plant, which is doing better than the ones in the pot, but still struggling. The granny's bonnet, or Aquilegia, is now going to seed. The bees are beginning to visit it. They weren't visiting it before. And then we've got more of the gorgeous honey lily, the Sicilian lily, honey lily. I love this flower. Beautiful, the colours. That's mixed in with the bees trying to visit it there. That's mollis, isn't it? Yeah, lovely when the water's on it. But around that is hydrangea, and towards the back, the taller plant, if I can get in, sorry bees, we've got a Japanese anemone coming up. A lovely flower on that one. It looks healthier this year than last year. And then Joe Pye weed growing there. In the main border, got a lovely big foxglove about to come up, and lots and lots of oregano. When it's in flower, though, it's just so important for the bees to collect nectar and pollen, especially for small bees, but even the bumblebees. There's a bumblebee trying to get into the honey lily. Look at that. Oh, it makes me so happy to hear that buzzing. Not having heard that buzzing for ages has been a concern. Right, Joe Pye plant, about to flower. The buds are swelling. Can you see them? Sorry, focus. There we go. Carrying on round. Here's that lovely pink geranium. I don't know the name of it, but oh look, there's a beautiful, if I can zoom in. Oh, he's just flown off. That was, you possibly saw it. It was a fat-thighed or thick-thighed flower beetle. Like a fluorescent green, if you see it, and it stands out so much on pink. But you can see the insects do like this. There's a bee. He's pinching the nectar. That's a bee with a short tongue. So instead of going in the top to reach down for the nectar, he's robbing it. So what they do is they go underneath, I can show you, and they tend to bite a little hole in the flower underneath and pinch the nectar that way. So it looks like he's robbing the flower rather than pollinating it. He's gone inside that one. So a bit of pollination going on and a bit of robbing. Another bee down here visiting it. That looks like a very, very tired little carder bee. They've been so late emerging. Yeah, it's a little carder bee. It's so tiny. It's a little worker. They've been late emerging this year, visiting the buttercup now, look. So I've got buttercup in amongst. I think it's creeping buttercup, not sure, don't care, as long as it's feeding the bees. Got these gorgeous alliums coming up here. These are Christophii, I think, the big ones, these great big ones. Allium Christophii. These are lovely, these are alliums too, they're like the drumstick allium. Bees adore them. They're like a deep purple, but they don't get very big, but they are gorgeous for the bees. Buy them every year and plant them. Fennel, another great plant for the bees. And I have got a bronze fennel coming up this year. I haven't had one for ages. Move the rose. It's a darker one, it's called bronze fennel. So you can see the more bronzy look too. It's more sort of purpley looking. This is a rose that the staff at the school I used to work at brought me when I retired. So that's producing some buds this year. I think it's a bit crowded. It's not brilliantly happy here, but... And in the back there's a clematis rambling through to the rose in the background. That rose in the background was one of 3 roses that were in the garden when we moved in. But one died, one was in a bad shape and I couldn't make it recover, but this one's still going. I've been here 30 years and that rose was in the garden then, so it's a good old rose. And next to it is a, what is that tall plant, is it? What are they? I'm not sure, I've forgot the name of it. Big tall, a lovely flower on it. You may know what it is. I've forgotten. It's getting eaten alive by something. Looks like some little insect on it eating it. But it'll flower shortly and that'll tell me what it is. It's gone out my head for the moment. Sorry about that. The gorgeous astrantia coming up. I've got different kinds of astrantia. There's another one down here, but no flowers on that yet. Oh, sorry, my shadow. Can't see it. This is another astrantia down here, but to say no flowers on it yet. I think it's a white one, that one. But lots of leaf. Oh, that was a great insect. Some kind of sawfly insect, I think. Where are you? Lovely. Sawfly, anyway, I think. This is Woodhavens. Another geranium here, lovely white one. I've had that a long time, it's gorgeous, but it's got crowded out by this pink one. It used to be all white here, but now it's the pink. Look at it, it's just a sea of pink. Another rose. Not I don't know the names of roses, different kinds, aren't there? But this one's not great for cutting, but not great for insects. Oh, this is the Weigella, and it's just going over. And a Weigella again on this side, with another rose in the background that's really no good to anything with. That's a Virginia creeper, great in the autumn, but provides nothing, some shelter, but nothing for wildlife. And then I have fuchsia, another large fuchsia here. These buds aren't quite open yet, as the other one. Down in the bottom there's a lily that comes up. There's an orange flower on that, was in the garden when I came. And then it's just pots of various kinds. Not sure what. Yeah. This is poached, not eggs and bacon plant. Gorgeous number of flowers on it. So that'll be in flower shortly. Carrying on up. This This shrub here is, I presume it's some kind of, I don't know, is it kind of, what is it? It's come to me now. Some kind of continista, I think. Anyway, it was buzzing quite actively this morning in the cold, but bees seem to have moved on at the moment, but it was very active with bees this morning, and last year it just seemed to be so attractive to tree bees. They seem to love it. Got a hydrangea being buried alive here with that lovely ferny plant, more Aquilegia. You have to excuse the poop. This is Japanese anemone, but because I have a feeder here with the fat balls in, and it's great shelter for all the sparrows, they do poop a lot on my Japanese anemone. Yeah, green fly and black fly this year seem to be in abundance. I don't usually suffer with it in my garden, but this year it seems to be on everything. And why that is, I don't know, because we had a cold winter. And a dull spring really, but there you go. Pyracantha in the background, just beginning to come into flower. Not quite open yet, but will be open soon. Buddleia, this is a white buddleia. It's in a lot of shade, so it's taking its time to grow. But yeah, it's a white buddleia. I'm not sure what this evergreen shrub is. Somebody might know, but I'm not sure what that is. But it has these tiny little flowers on that are loved by tiny little insects. And we've got ragwort coming up everywhere this year. So we've got ragwort here, and I did disturb more ragwort there. I did disturb the butterfly of the caterpillar of the butterfly that lays its eggs on here. The cinnabar moth caterpillar eats this plant, and I did disturb it's a wren moth, the cinnabar moth, the other day. Flew up, so it was down the other end, away from the plant, but it might mean they're in the garden at night. So fingers crossed I should be getting the caterpillars. This is a patch of grass I don't cut. I was checking it out the other day, and there was a lovely frog in there, looking for slugs, I imagine. And I think the foxes occasionally was playing there. It's flat sometimes, as though something's had a nice sleep in there in the middle. Over on the back we've got a Strantia coming up, and it's very shaded now. This side of the garden doesn't get much sun. The roses, I've got a climbing rose and jasmine and a clematis on this fence, all mixed together, and there's ivy. The ivy will be fine, but the buds are up the top where they get more sun. But yeah, it's a struggle to get anything to grow on that really. So a Strantia, which likes shade. I'm not sure that it likes the amount of shade it's getting. I've got another geranium here. I don't know what it is. It's a cutting I brought back from Cornwall. So I planted it there, but I think I could do with taking a cutting from it and moving it into a bit more sun. It's just struggling a bit there. The last of the forget-me-nots. Yellow loose strife in the background, and another self-seeded mallow. A video the other day, a night video, the squirrel jumped on it thinking it must be a tree, and he bounced to the floor. It's quite funny because of course the weight of the squirrel just dropped it, it just dropped to the floor. More honey lily, or Sicilian lily. Gorgeous little plant, well worth getting if you can. They're bulbs that you plant in September, so really, really worth putting those in. They're absolutely gorgeous. Crow's having a complaint. Not sure why. Whether the chicks have come out, because they have still been going into the nest in my birch tree. So my cat's just come in the garden. Whether they've got a juvenile out, not sure. Anyway, we've got there's a Christmas tree my niece brought me. She's in her 20s now, and she brought it me when she was about 3. I just keep it in a pot because I don't want it to get ridiculously big, but you can see all new little growth coming on that, just enough. Next to it is a hawthorn, but again I think it's too shady for a hawthorn there, so but it's adding to the cover for birds. Next to that we've got the ribes, just finished, and I should have cut it back, but because I was ill, I didn't get out in the garden at all in the spring, so it's enormous, and if I cut it back now it's not going to flower next year, so I'll have to leave it for this year and give it a hard cut back next year. If I step back a bit, this is my next section of long grass, and in it mainly is the lovely ragwort. There's the cowslips normally here, and they've all finished, and now it's gone over to ragwort, which again is just brilliant for me. We've got a long border of grass on this side, not sure if it'll show up in the sun. Just if I go up here, you'll see this video's getting very long and I'm only a quarter of the way up the garden. It might be a two-parter. It runs up the length of the garden there, the grassy area. This grass is so shaded, so obviously I don't get those beautiful meadows like you see on the telly when they say don't mow your grass. I get a bit of stuff in it, but nothing much. But I do know it gets lots of insects in it, and when we had the hedgehog last year, you could see the insects crawling about in it on the night camera. So great food source for foxes and hedgehogs. So yeah, it's full of invertebrates that keep your grass long, even if you can't get it flowering. I've got a couple of things coming up in it. There's this. I'm not sure what that is, I need to look at it, but it's got a flower coming. Usually once the flower opens I can sort of tell what they are. Yeah, that one, it's got sort of a very pinkly stem, and then these sort of maple shaped leaves. Not sure what that is. We've got lots of longwort. It's finished flowering, but now it's producing all its leaves for next year. Up by the apple tree, it's amazing. So that's great for next year. There is, you can't tell, but only by the flower stalks, that there is a lovely yeah, the lovely heuchera coming up in there. Can't see the leaves very much, but definitely the flowers. There's the leaves. I might have to pull some of this fern out a bit to give it a bit more light. This shrub here is mock orange, and on the fence we've got ivy, and this is a honeysuckle. It only has a tiny little pink flower, but yeah, bees do seem to enjoy nectaring on that. And I just give it a good haircut at the end of the year. Yeah, mock orange. This is a gorgeous mock orange. Smells like bubblegum when it's out. So we've got buttercups coming up. We've got our first ever cow parsley coming up in the long border of grass. Oxeye daisy, I did plant those. They're not self-seeded. I planted the oxeye daisy on this side of the border. A hydrangea, very old. It was my neighbour's hydrangea. It doesn't seem to do much. It struggles every year. It might be worth taking out, but it's ground cover at the moment. Another mallow in the background. Aquilegia, Johnson's blue geranium, oregano. I think there's marjoram in here as well as oregano. A plant I showed you earlier is also grown in the border here. Yeah, if anybody knows what that is, quite woody stem. Don't know what it is. If anybody knows, that'd be great. The red campion are just going over. They've struggled a lot with black fly this year. What else have we got? We've got a broom, a very sickly broom. The top part's died. Had a branch I didn't realise had got broken in the heavy snow we had at the beginning of March, end of February, beginning of March, and it completely snapped a branch off. Now that part's started to come into flower and then it just died, but there's new life there, so I'm going to take that one big old branch out and hope that the rest continues, but it's very old. Along the fence on the back is hedge garlic, Jack by the hedge. Lots of yellow loosestrife. That the cornflower meadow cornflower, I think that is at the back. More heuchera. The last of the cowslips on the edge of the border. Hosta in a pot. That hosta in a pot has got to be 15 to 20 years old. Comes up every year. I feed it occasionally. I don't know, it keeps going, but it does. More mock orange. That's a cutting I took from the previous mock orange. Foxglove. We've got these roses here, little button roses. The bees do enjoy it. There's one just gone into that little tight one there. These were from Aldi a few years ago. Don't know what they're called, but yeah, the bees seem to like them. We've got the snowberry bush. Absolutely gorgeous bush for bees. Doesn't need to be cut back a little bit, but I'll wait till it's finished now flowering. Great big globe thistle there. Coming up, not globe thistle, is it globe thistle? Yeah, that's right. Lovely purple ball flower later in the year, absolutely adored by the bees. And more goldenrod, and a lovely I was going to say devil. It's not devil, is it? It's the other word for devil. No, I can't think of the name, but it has a red flower on it. It is liked by the bees, not massively, but the bees will use it. Up into the sunny bit again, so out of the shade, out of the woodlandy section, and going up into the sunny section. We've got a daisy there, tall daisy. It's not the oxeye daisy, it's sort of large tall daisy flower. I have got a cotoneaster in the very background there. You can see the purple flowers, but it's struggling a bit there. Winter flowering. Oh, there's a bee on it. So, oh no, it's on the geranium. Winter flowering clematis going up there. That lovely geranium again. And we've got strawberries. Got this flower coming up, and I think it has a pink red flower, and I don't know the name of it, but it's a lovely flower. I did have a couple of poppies in here, but I think it's too shady in the day for them. They seem to be struggling. They start coming up and then they sort of flop and do nothing. That's them there. Sorry about my shadow. Cotoneaster on the fence, that's just finished flowering. More foxglove, more winter flowering clematis. Sorry about the motorbike. Foxgloves in the pot there. More globe thistle, and just next to it is some not globe thistle. Pink, I just keep trying to think of that pink geranium, which is everywhere. I can't remember it. Yeah, globe thistle and more mallow. I did plant that one. What have we got here? We've got Jerusalem sage. Beautiful yellow flowers come out to these little bud. Oh, they're just gorgeous. They're like a snapdragon almost type flower. Gorgeous. Yeah, well worth having. Bees do love it. And I only noticed Jerusalem sage. Then we've got next to that, we've got enormous oxeye daisy. I think my ground is very rich because it's clay soil, so they do get very tall, as you can see, amongst that geranium. And the red campion was there, but that's all finished now. The bees are visiting it. An unusual bee, trying to work out what that is. And then we've got the telltale of the rose on the fence. It's just going over now, it's just beginning to finish. A pond, very low. I've been topping it up from the water butt, but it is very low, and it certainly needs some of the duckweed removing from it, but the irises are about to burst open on it. Another lovely, that is in a pot, another lovely fern in a pot there. Some more astrantia and Johnson's blue geranium, foxgloves. Here's all the lungwort for next year coming up. This is in the shade of the apple tree. And the lovely forget-me-nots are just going over now. Need taking out. There are some alliums coming up in there, the drumstick allium, and there's some buttercups in there too. The bench is still to be mended, so don't ever sit on the bench. Lovely tongue fern there. It was in shade before, but it's doing fine. More Jerusalem sage there. Dogwood, it's one of those ornamentally ones that you're supposed to cut back so you get the gorgeous red stems, but I don't cut it back because I'm not bothered about the red stems particularly. It flowers and the bees like the flowers, and it's more cover for birds coming into the garden when they come up here. These potatoes in pots, about to flower. Got 3 pots of potatoes. I've got the name of which potato. Here's that rose again. This one's more in sun. So you can see how gorgeous the flowers are. Very open little flower. This is catnip, something. But it's struggling. I've moved it over here into the sun to hope it picks up. It was a bit shaded, but I don't think it likes being in this pot. Probably not the ideal conditions for it. Some rosemary down here, just finished flowering, and some lavender. On the back we've got another cistus there, and I can see a teasel coming up in the very background next to the cherry, next to my cherry. And I love these flowers. This is wild carrot, just about to come into flower, and that one may be in flower. Look at that, it's so beautiful. In the background we've got nigella coming up in. I didn't realise it was nigella, and nigella doesn't really like shade, I believe. It seems to be doing okay there. It's got very tall, stretching for the light. There's an aquilegia in the background with it, and I moved the rhododendron to here, which is coming into flower, but not as many bees on it as it's in shade as there would be normally when it was down the bottom in full sun. And this gorgeous aquilegia. Again, bees are visiting it, and when it warms up it gets busier, rather when it plants in shade. Obviously once the temperature comes up they get visited by bees, but while it's cool they seem to stick to the sunnier areas. Got yellow flag iris, that's all in a pot. I think I told you it was in my pond at one point, and then I realised how ridiculous it was for my pond. Way too big, so it's in a pot. It's so pot bound, it's ridiculous, but still flowers. Got that's been absolutely busy with bees at the back. That's a thornless blackberry. Yeah, been very busy. Big ivy with a honeysuckle going through it. Another big fuchsia. Asters, these will come up like late flower later in the year. Those are asters. Ferns, my lovely Acer, seems to be very happy here. I've moved it up to here, lovely foxglove coming through it. More of that gorgeous geranium, I wish I knew the name. It begins with an A, but I can't remember the name of it. More globe thistle, that can spread as much as it likes here, that would be great. There's a dog rose coming up in the back, come through. These are my raspberries. That was the first sign of the bees returning. I knew if there were going to be any bees coming back into the garden, they'd be visiting the raspberries, and they were, so the raspberries are pollinated. I've got a white currant here, which is laden with berries. as it always is, oops, sorry about the grass, can you see the berries? But my red currant, I think I've cut it wrong because I'm trying to get through, I'll have to show you the ground. The red currant here, I did notice some berries on it, but they may have gone by now with the blackbirds. I must have cut it wrong. I must have cut off the bit that flowers this year. I was opening it up a bit, but it failed, but never mind. Look at the mock orange in the background. Absolutely laden. The bees have been visiting that in the anticipation of it opening already. And the nettle bed. The holly, absolutely covered in berries at the moment. Hoping I had one or two holly blue butterflies about, so hopefully they've laid eggs on the holly. They do lay it on ivy as well, but yeah, it'd be great if that's attracted them. But this is the ground here. You can see how dense, it's like a little forest down here. You look at that. And now it's so important. I know people like tidy gardens and all of that, but it is just so important that there is no ground to be seen in lots of places. If I turn that round, you can't see dirt in my garden until the winter comes. Grasses are growing in amongst them, all sorts growing. This is where I had the lovely carder bee nest last year, down here. But growth has grown over it this year, so we may not get one. Oh gosh, this video is so long. This garden is so big. Goldenrod. Then we've got Guelder Rose here. It confuses me being called Guelder Rose, because it's not a rose, is it? But that's the name of it. Yeah, this has suffered badly with greenfly this year, but gorgeous. It's just gone over now. Dog rose mixed with a sort of a red rose, I think, here. I cut the dog rose back, but it seems to have recovered. There's a mixture of two roses there. Oh, something up the garden I can hear. Is it a fox? Is it a human? I don't know. This is my lovely nod to my sister Lorraine, who died last year. Her favourite plant. Oh, lovely green insect just landed on my screen. This is Sambuca black lace. It's gorgeous. And then we've got, is it willow here? Yeah, I think that's willow. Big buddleia, cut back from last year. Another buddleia in the background. I mean, this is the proper jungle now. Got the green alkanet, absolutely essential for bees. We've got let's see. Go up and see. On this side we've got giant knapweed, more raspberry, and this is the, I've got to control this because it's coming the wrong way, bramble. But it'll provide us, it's just coming into flower, it'll provide us with lots of blackberries later in the year, in amongst the nettle bed. There's a blue iris out the pond. I had to thin that out too, because that gets too big for my tiny pond. But that's in a bucket too, and doing quite well. There's a broom in the background there, just finishing. My oak tree seems to be doing okay. There's an ash there that I have to just keep taking the tops off. More buddleia, more mock orange. There's a weed growing up here, I don't know what it is. It has a little, for all the leaf, it literally produces this tiniest little yellow flower, but again loved by the insects. We've got Joe Pye weed in the background. I forgot the name of the spiny plant again. My memory for plants is just terrible at the moment. It's old age. I'm getting very old. I hope this isn't too quiet either. More flag iris in a pot. I took that off the one out the other pot because that was going so pot bound, so I tried putting it in this one and it's flowering for the first time this year. More pyracantha. This is the wilderness, remember. We've got docks. I think that's lady's bed straw. Everything up here is self-seeded. Aquilegia. My very sickly rhubarb, but I'm not bothered. I'm not growing rhubarb. My daughter-in-law grows it. There's another weed of some sort there. Ferns, gorgeous dogwood, all just coming into flower. My hawthorn has just finished. It's flowered its best this year, considering it's only a small plant. Buttercups, aquilegia. All the trees are damson, but they don't produce damsons. They suffer, I'll show you, they suffer from some kind of fungal infection. I'll lift you up and you can see the state of the damsons. Yeah, not nice. So we don't get any damsons off it ever, but it's tree cover. Ash, all full of ivy. At the very end is a hawthorn, is my hazel. Doesn't seem that happy here. Let's get up here and see. There's a lilac. Yeah, the leaves are very small, but it's growing, but the leaves are very small. And all the dead hedging that goes on up here. This is where I put everything I cut back goes up here. You can see where I've been cutting back this year. Some lilac there, and yeah, so it's even for wildlife. I can see spot cobwebs. It's usually a wren up here singing. The robin usually pops up while I'm up here. Jack by the hedges, self-seeded everywhere. The garlic, hedge garlic. A table where I put my bulbs to finish. Ivy's taking over the dead hedge. And ivy on this side. And my compost bins. So there's 3 stages. That's the active one. This is the one that's got just finishing off. That one's finished. And the green one is the one I put all the, because mine is not a hog compost, I put weeds in. I tend to put weeds in this one. My granddaughter loves looking in it to see what's in there. So that's it. I better stop because this is nearly an hour long. I'm really sorry about that. Far too long for everyone. So we'll just go through the arch, apple tree, the wildness. Oh no! My cat! No! He's just caught a rat. Sorry about that. He's just caught a young rat. That's what cats do. Oh dear. And I said she doesn't hunt, but obviously she did today. That's where I could hear up the garden earlier. Right, I'll see if I can go and rescue the rat. Sorry about that. Okay, take care everyone. Not a very good way to end a video, was it really? Okay, bye.